Welcome to Bedtime Stories. The Goat Fight. Once upon a time, there was a large river in a village that cut across a deep gorge. The townspeople built a small, narrow bridge across the river to cross it now and then for the people and animals. In that village, there were two silly goats. They were both equally strong and egoistic and often got into arguments with each other. The two goats didn't like each other. They always hated each other about their strength and power. A river passed by the forest on which a narrow bridge was built to allow the animals to cross it. The bridge was narrow enough to allow only one animal to cross at a time. The bridge being narrow, could only accommodate one person or an animal crossing it at a time. If at all any person or animal comes together, they won't be able to make a safe pass. So whoever wants to cross the narrow bridge, has to wait for their turn to make a safe pass. One day these two silly goats happened to be crossing the bridge. At the other end of the bridge, he saw that there was another silly goat standing, who he hated was coming from the opposite direction. Since the bridge could only accommodate one person or an animal at a time, it was impossible for both the goats to cross it simultaneously. The silly goats stood in their place and waited for the other to retreat. But neither of them was willing to back down to let the other pass. Both the silly goats stood at the edges of the bridge, waiting for the other to go back. Suddenly the first goat said, "I want to go first. Allow me to pass." The other goat replied, "No. You move aside. I have come a long way, so I shall pass first." They continued arguing for a while and neither of them was willing to move. The first silly goat said, "I am the older goat, so you should allow me to pass first." The other silly goat denied and said, "I am the stronger one, so I can cross the bridge faster. You will only amble along because you are old." The first goat took offense to what the other one said and continued, "Although I am older, I am still stronger than you." The second goat did not want to accept that, and both the silly goats soon got into a fight to prove their point to each other about their power and strength. Tired of waiting, the two goats started crossing the bridge from their ends at the same time. Soon, they reached the middle of the bridge over the river. The goats again started arguing about who would cross first. In no time, the argument turned into pushes and blows where one goat struck the other with its horns. The silly goats began fighting in the middle of the bridge. The silly goats locked horns and fought fiercely on the narrow bridge. In no time, they lost their balance and fell into the river. The strong current swept the goats away, causing them to drown and disappear into the deep waters. After the incident, two other goats faced one another in a similar situation. These goats also got into an argument about who should be the one to cross the bridge first. Just when it looked like things would take a turn from bad to the worse, one of the goats stops the argument. He said, "Stop, stop. This bridge is too narrow for us to settle our dispute with a fight. If we continue this, we will both fall into the river like those silly goats who fought over this narrow bridge and disappeared. Instead, I have a wise plan." The wise goat went on to explain the wise plan. He said, "I will lie down on the bridge while you walk over me. That way, we can both make it to the other end." The other goat understood the logic behind the idea and realized it was the sensible thing to do. He did exactly as the first goat instructed, and both of them made it across safely. Both the wise goat proved their wiseness through their logical reasoning and understanding. Both those silly goats were called silly for a reason. Because they were both foolish and stupid to fight over crossing a bridge while standing over the bridge. Those silly goats were also very proud and full of ego, as neither of them stepped back to let the other pass. Now, both the wise goats started to chat and make each other understand. Now do you see why those two silly goats were fighting and how badly they ended their lives? Don't you agree it was silly losing one's life over a small argument? Remember that fighting only causes harm in the end. Both the wise goat proved that arguing and fighting like those silly goats is not the solution to any issue. It just makes you miss the right point, and can sometimes result in dangerous and hazardous situations. The wise goats started to teach that one should try to live in peace and harmony with their neighbors and others. If you like the story, please do like, share and subscribe. Thank you for listening. Good night.